be about what's the price, it's what is the best methodology and how this could be implemented in a consistent way across Europe. So it's not about the prices itself, but it's to provide more certainty. Of course, we are also reconsidering the relevant markets. So there is a recommendation as well, which has to be regularly reviewed, and the review of the last version of that recommendation has just started. When it comes to the demand side, I mean, the digital agenda contains a whole set of measures. I'm focusing only on those which are directly in the portfolio of my commission, if I can say. And there, for instance, we just have a new proposal at stake for the reuse of public sector information. I think that was mentioned again yesterday in the discussion, that this could be an important input. This new directive, which should facilitate the use of public sector information, is at first reading, was dealt with in the Council last week. The same goes for our reform on e-signature and e-identity. There the Commission has made a new proposal on the 4th of June for a regulation in that field. That also should allow for much better use of e-commerce services and all kinds of applications where identity plays a role. Connected TV is another path to follow, and the Green Paper should be published in the course of this year, where one particular input, which of course still is audiovisual, should play a role also to increase demand. And finally, a cloud computing strategy is underway as well and should be presented in the course of this year. We said spectrum is crucial, and you know that the reform package has provided for the possibility to plan spectrum better at the European level. This is the aim of the so-called Radio Spectrum Policy Program. And the first Radio Spectrum Policy Program has now been adopted, and that already, I think, has some important measures in it. So it's to free up all existing frequency bands which are to be used for mobile broadband by the end of 2012. And Greece has already done a step there, we heard yesterday. And then to use finally the digital dividend in the 800 megahertz band by January 2013. And we heard yesterday that Greece will ask here for a derogation for 6 months until the end of June next year. Short word on financing and costing, then I think I have to come to the end.
No, you have time.
I have time, very good. Okay, financing is important, so thank you for some extra time on that. It was mentioned yesterday already that the rural broadband project has just been cleared by the Commission as regards state aids. It goes about 200 million euros. Mr. Katsikas yesterday, I think, announced 240 million that would be available for that. So that means there is still money there, public money, that can be used for further broadband rollout. And I think the conditions for Greece in particular are set that there are other advantages way. You don't have to co-finance 50%, you can co-finance down to 5%, and that of course gives such much more flexibility to use these funds in order to get the broadband strategy live in Greece. The Commission is just reviewing the state aid rules as well. You know, we have specific broadband guidelines as regards state aids. Those are under review, even again to make it easier, to make it more clear, more certain how public funding can take place where there is no viable commercial solution. A public consultation is currently pending. Was started on the 1st of June, and you're all invited to contribute to that until the 3rd of September. Now, apart from that, one major new tool, which we heard yesterday in a short video clip also, is the Connecting Europe facility, which should bring about 7 billion euros to all EU for infrastructure rollout in our sector. Now, the last Council last week has reached a preliminary agreement on the approach in general. This still needs to be confirmed as to the details, but it's an important step forward. We are also looking forward how the European Parliament will deal with the proposal. Their negotiations have just started, and we hope we could get this new facility adopted at the end of this year or beginning of next year, and that should give another possibility for financing what we want to achieve. Now, it was already mentioned with the 7 billions compared to 210 billions overall that are needed, that seems to be a rather small figure. But first of all, don't forget, this is for those areas where private investment as such would not materialize. And then with the 7 billion, the experts tell us that this would trigger a much higher effect, up to 10 times more. So we would then hopefully see investments up to 70 billion, and that's already a much more substantive sum that could be moved in order to facilitate broadband rollout. Interesting to note also is that for these loans and financial instruments to be used, the eligibility is linked to our second digital agenda goal. So all technology that is able to deliver 30 megabit per second can in principle profit of this instrument. So let's hope that the legislator will follow us and that we will get what we are looking for. And now I'm coming to the last point, and that is the costing side. I think that was again mentioned yesterday in the discussions, that a big portion of the overall costs for broadband deployment is civil engineering. And the costs are in general estimated up to 80% of the overall costs, pure civil engineering costs. And we have some studies from several member states that all indicate that there is a huge saving potential, up to 30% of the costs. That would mean overall, if we take again the 200 billion that we need, there's a potential of 50 billions that could be used to again facilitate and make it easier for broadband rollout. So that's what the Commission tries to address with a recent public consultation at the moment, which is also running until the 20th of July. And just to give you an idea what is at stake, so of course we want to better use existing infrastructure. So we will hear, I think, in short about the French experience, and there is some experience in particular with one operator who had used the sewages, for instance, in Paris and rolled out 3,500 kilometers of fiber in very short time. So that's why we are not only thinking of the reuse of existing infrastructure of telcos, but also including other utilities, and we are exploring what is possible technically and economically possible in that field. We would like to see new rollout and new deployment, new civil engineering works better coordinated. That can be better coordinated with public works, but also with all kind of digging that other utilities companies have to do. I note that there is an initiative ongoing, started by EETT in your country on this. I heard that you have a rollout of a natural gas network, so that would already be a nice opportunity to apply those principles and to try to get digging done in a coordinated way. And then, of course, and this is not particularly the case for Greece only, the cumbersome administrative procedures are, of course, an obstacle for anybody who wants to roll out networks, be it telecoms or others. So to find a smart way that these administrative procedures could be speeded up and made be less cumbersome would also contribute and would also have an impact on overall investment strategies. We heard yesterday about the new model that has now been provided by legislative measures in Greece. It's a kind of soft one-stop shopping, as we call it, and we are looking forward to see that materialize in practice, and then it might well be used as a good model that could then be also used in other member states and across the EU. The last point then, of course, is all this does not help if at the end of the day the operators cannot reach the end user, and that's why it's also very important that the equipment of buildings is also future-proof. That means we need NGA-ready access to the buildings. So we have, again, examples in several member states where there are obligations, at least for new houses, that they are all equipped in a way that at the end the 100 megabit can also be delivered to the end user. Now, with all this, I think I tried to give a short overview. There are a lot of things ongoing in Brussels. It's not one killer application that we are looking for also in the services market as such. Also, we don't have one killer application. I think it's a smart bundle, a bundle of several measures which try to address the problem from several aspects, as I tried to indicate, and I'm looking forward in particular also to your contribution to this public consultation for which my unit is in charge. And thank you very much for the opportunity to be here with you, and thank you very much for your attention.